of all other gods. We lay our crowns and worship you. Oh, glorious God, we praise your name. We lay our crown and worship you. Oh, glorious God, is your name.
Good afternoon and welcome to Something in Need for You. Welcome to Something in Need for You. Wherever you're connecting from in any part of the world, you're welcome to our afternoon teaching. This afternoon, I'll be talking about leadership. I'm on the Reset Series 4. But this time around, we're talking about leadership, especially with the current situation in our country, United Kingdom. So there are lessons to learn, there are things to embrace, there are things to pick up. So I just want you to know one thing for sure, that leadership is vital. Everything fall and rise on leaders, whether in political or in business world or in the religious world, even in the family. It all boils down to leadership. And I want to believe that every one of us will have the tendencies of being a leader. But what makes you to be an excellent leader, a distinguished leader, is a different thing. And I'll be talking about what that is based on. And you discover that leaders played major role in shaping life, in causing war, in bringing peace. So everything you want to talk about in life, from whatever spectrum, you will see that leadership is of essence. Let me, share with you some one or two definitions about leadership said by two prominent great leaders. One as a religious leader, civil rights movement leader, and the other one happens to be a military man. When we look at the two definitions, you will agree with me that there is something to learn. Martin Luther King Jr. said the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Where he stands at the time of challenge and controversy. This is what Martin Luther King Jr. said, which means leadership entails much more than what many people imagine. So let's see what General George S. Patton General George S. Patton Jr. says a leadership must be willing to make decisions. Must be willing to make decisions. He said that is the most important quality in a good leader. The most important quality in a good leader. If you look around in today's world, you will discover that the number of wars, disasters, conflicts that the world has experienced is got to do with leaders. It is not the follower that initiated the war, that initiated the conflict. It all boils down to leaders. We know from history, the First World War, the Second World War, talk about other war as well. I'm old enough to know about the Biafran War. It wasn't the Igbo, the Hausa or the Yoruba, ordinary men and women on the street and that caused it. It's got to do with leadership. With leadership. So when you look at Iraq war, leadership. Come back to Syria, leadership. Now let's come back a little bit home to Europe, Russia, Ukraine, leadership. Leadership. And in the same way, when you break it down away from the political class, then you come to the religious class, you will find the problem of leadership. People in spiritual leadership position having tug of war against one another. Institution breaking down into pieces. One moving away from one to set up another. It's all about leadership. When you look at the conflicts in most establishments, you will trace it back to the leaders who find a way to influence their followers. We're talking about leader, a very terrible leader was a leader that made efforts to kill, not made effort, that actually implemented the killing of over 6 million people, 6 million human beings, to make sure that they were all slaughtered. How did he convince his people to actually behave in that barbaric manner? So you can see what leaders can do. I just choosing not to mention his name. But I'm sure many of you know the kind of that evil leader I'm talking about, who became the genesis of the Second World War. So I want you to reflect that leaders have caused us so much pain. They have caused us so much agony. Leaders have caused us so much difficulties, lots of disasters. Because when leaders start to think about himself at the expense of the citizens or people that were supposed to serve, then you know that chaos, disaster is inevitable. So how can you lead to make a difference in people's life? As some of you might do really know that one of my major areas is leadership. Is leadership, both in practice and in academics. Both in practice and in academics. So I just want you to reflect on the fact that everything in life is about leadership. Who is leading you? What are the qualities of such people that you allow them to lead you? Are they leading you in the right path, or you're the one leading them in the wrong path? Because you can't have a leader without having followers. And if there are followers, there have to be leaders. There have to be leaders. So today, I live in a country, our country, where we're having issues right now with our political leaders. But the good news is this: we've been there before, and the whole thing becomes resolved because there's a system in place to check on any abuse of power. Any abuse of power. Abuse of power is inevitable. It now depends on the followers, on the citizens, on the nations, or the organization to allow it to happen. To allow it to happen. But one of the things that we have to understand in leadership, whether secular or spiritual, that you are either leading or being led. You are either leading or being led. So whichever one you fall in amongst either being led or you're leading, you will have to understand these three principles. That good leaders gain respect. Good leaders gain respect because of their character, their commitment, and concerns for others. I call it 3C. Good leaders gain respect because of their character, their commitment, and concerns for others. And many leaders too ruined and damaged their lives, their career, and that of other people that follow them, that believes in them, through carelessness and irresponsible behavior. You can damage your calling, you can damage your career through carelessness and irresponsible behavior. So good leaders gain respect because of their character, commitment, and concerns for others. Whether you look at it from the political perspective or business perspective or religious perspective, the mandate that you have as a leader is to better the life of others. And that is basically means concerns for others. So leaders rise and fall based on these three principles: character, commitment, and concerns for others. It doesn't matter the talent that you have. If you lack character, you will fail as a leader. It doesn't matter the anointing that you have upon your head. It doesn't matter the calling of God upon your life. If you lack character, that same God will reject you. He will reject you. If you are in doubt, go and look at the life of Saul. He was called, anointed by God, just like every other one. The same way that God had asked the prophet to anoint him was the same way he anointed. He anointed David and every other kings. But Saul was rejected because he lacked character. He lacked character. When a leader lacks character, then such a leader will lose integrity, dishonesty. And it will take much more effort for you to put it right, because people will no longer have trust and confidence in you. So because character has become a crucial issue, especially in today, when you're talking about leadership, whether in politics or in business or in religion, character and character. When your character becomes questionable, fall is inevitable. Leaders are to make decisions, but leaders are not expected to make right decisions at all times, but they are expected to be truthful. They are expected to have good character, because there is always an error in judgment. No one expects their leader to be absolutely perfect, but they expect their leader to be truthful. And that is the key issue in today's world. You will see the rise and fall of so many leaders, and it all boils down to character, commitment, and concerns for others. Is your concerns for others to manipulate them, to abuse them? Is that your concerns for others? You are placed in leadership position to be a blessing, to guide, to lead, and to make people's life much more better. Not to add shame and bondage or sorrow in people's life. But when your character becomes questionable, then people will lose interest in you as a leader. You see, because leaders are respected not only because they had value, they are respected because they uphold the truth. Not because you had value, but they are respected because they uphold the truth. And also because they are committed to making life worth living, particularly for those that they are leading. If you are making the life of your follower miserable, it defines the kind of leader that you are. If you're a leader that only think about yourself and your family, it shows clearly the categories of leader that you fall into. Maybe another time I'll be talking about different types of leadership. But I just want to do general overview of this issue of leadership. I've been looking at research series. The time now, the church need, when I say the church universal need leaders, political class need leaders, and business leaders too. People that can shape things and bring honor, glory unto God, and by affecting humanity in a way that will bring honor to God. Many people are going through serious hardship, suffering, pain, agony, homelessness, unemployment. Many walk on the street, but They do not know where the next meal is going to come from. So, if you're a leader, you're a leader, God appointed you or make it possible for you to be a leader for the purpose of solving the problems. And God has always been mindful of leaders. Mindful of leaders. Whenever there are bad leaders and the people cry to God, such leader tends to be replaced. If people cannot replace you, God can replace you with death. So if death comes and you die, so can you take power away with you? No. Character. Character enables us to do what is right, even when it seems difficult. It enables us to do what is right, even when it's difficult. No one is expecting their leaders to be right at all times. They know that leaders do not have monopoly of knowledge. There is room that when you make mistake, but be truthful about it. Be truthful about it. Dishonesty, lying, aren't traits of a good leader. They are traits of evil and a dictator. Leadership. Those in leadership needs to be committed. It takes commitment. You can't be a great leader if all what you do is to tell people to go and do things, but you are not actively involved and engaged. People follow. When you lead from the front, then others will follow. Great leaders lead from the front, they do not lead from the back. You lead from the front. And when you lead from the front, people will pay attention to you. And don't forget, there's some position in life that whatever you become, people will not be interested. It doesn't matter to them. But there's some position also in life that the moment you aspire to get to that position, there are no more secret for you. No more secret. Your life is no longer secret. Everything about you is in the public domain. But the public will say, if you're coming to serve us, we need to know. We need to know. I mean, look at it this way. Who cares prior to this moment, the moment Tinubu received the nomination of APC, everything about his life. Everything about his life, from his birth to his name, to his education, to his background, to his wealth, to everything. Now, everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know. Because you have chosen to bring yourself into life's light that you want to lead people. And whether you like it or not, they are entitled to know. It is their right. That it is their right to know. So these are the things that's why you see the focus, the lenses of the social media, or don't let me say social media, even the media will focus on you, including your family, including your children. They can no longer do things they used to do before. They have to be very careful. Even at the church level, go and ask some leader. Your children cannot, they can't be running up and down. They can't be doing certain things. They cannot talk. They cannot. You see, in the sense that the eyes of the church, of the world, is upon them. Is upon them. So if you aspire to be a leader, reflect. Or you want to take an office, a position, reflect on it very well. If you do not bring yourself to the public domain, then you do. So there is nothing that the world is going to ask you. Then it becomes private. But the moment you become a leader, your life is no longer private. Your life, everything about you is now public. So whosoever you're leading, they are entitled to know who you are, what you are, where you are. So one of the things that leaders must understand, that if you're a leader that is unpredictable, then you're a dangerous leader. One of the good traits of leadership is to be predictable. Predictability in the context of saying they know that on issue, this is your principle. This is where you stand. This is what you're going to uphold. This is what you're going to embrace. If you say you are in the east, you are in the east. If you say you are in the west, they know for sure that you are in the west. That what you say is what you embrace, what you do. But if you lied, you become dishonest. It's just a question of time. It's often said that lies may travel for 20 years. But when truth is going to catch up, it will just catch up just like that. Just like that. So that's why it is dangerous for leaders not to be truthful. Not to be truthful. Then also another point that you need to have as the second quality is the quality of commitment. Is the quality of commitment. If you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. You will fall for everything. So what do you stand for? Your follower, what do they know you for? These are some of the serious issues that you need to understand as a leader when you're looking at something in need for you. How committed are you? If you're not committed to God, you cannot be committed to man. It's as simple as that. But knowing fully well that your duty is to serve people, then you have to be committed to those people that you are to serve. Don't forget, they're the one paying your salary. Don't forget, you are to lead them, you are to guide them, so they deserve your commitment. If you are employed in a business, an employer or company employs you and they discover that you are not committed to the ethos of that company, you will be sacked. You will lose your job. It's as simple as that. How committed are you? You're a leader at church, you are not committed. You're a leader at work, you are not committed. So it is do what I say, don't do what I do. But when you look at leadership principle, people follow their leader's steps. And that's why when you look at Jesus' style of leadership, the kind of leadership imparted into the life of the disciples was for the disciples to follow him. And that was exactly what Paul said. He said, follow me as I follow Christ. Follow me as I follow Christ. I ask you today, are you a leader that can be followed truthfully, faithfully, diligently? Are you honest? In your honesty, you may have to say things that you are not proud of, but people will respect you, that you are honest. But they will detest you when you start to lie. And they know fully well that you are lying. And you are using every tool possible to protect the lies. It's just a question of time. The truth will come out. It will come out. Then the third one, which is concerns for others. concerns for others. In whatever level of leadership you find yourself or you are placed, you must always bear in mind the interest of others comes first, must be paramount. Not your interest, not your family interest, but the interest of people that you are going to serve. So I ask you again, how are you managing the interest of people that you are to serve? How effective are you? How are you carrying out those duties and responsibility? You see, in the journey of life, you whether you like it or not, there is bound to be challenges. There is bound to be difficulties. The road may be tough, it may be rough. But one thing you also need to understand clearly is, you as a leader, you are to provide a pathway for people to follow. You are to provide a pathway for them to follow. And that's what it takes to be a leader. That's what it takes to be a leader. So if in difficult times, you are such a leader that cannot be relied on, depend on, then very soon, people will start to know you for who you are. But most people want to be able to trust their leaders. They want to be able to see in their leader truthfulness and genuineness. I do understand this fact, friends, that one of the most difficult tasks is to get people to agree to tasks, to get them to see things from your perspective, even to agree with it. Whether in the business world, whether in the political or religious world. But the fact of the matter remains, you are not to lead animals, you are to lead human beings. So the way you lead them will determine your success and your failure. It will determine your success and your failure. So my challenge to leaders is to ask, who are they currently developing? Because along the line, your time is going to come. Look at what Jesus did. He trained 12 prominent men to take over from him. Who are you mentoring? Who are you training? Who? Because mentoring is one of the most effective techniques available for leaders to develop leaders. Available for leaders to develop leaders. One of the most effective techniques. Because you need to develop the ability. Maybe one of the things that is causing trouble in today's world, as I've started in my intro, that the problem of today's world has got nothing to do with the masses, it's got to do with the leadership. Many find themselves in leadership position without being properly mentored, without being properly trained, without being properly guided. And the moment they get to the leadership position, their true color will speak out. We'll be able to know who they are really. And that's why you find some leader, they will go on the back of democracy, and the moment they get to power, they change democracy to autocracy. They change it to autocracy because that is whom they are. That's whom they are. So you must anticipate that challenges are going to happen. How do you handle it? What is your response? You are in position of leadership today. It's temporary, not permanent. So whatever position you find yourself, always remember one thing: character, commitment, and concerns for others is what is going to make you to be a success or a failure. I want to believe this is something you need for you to learn. Even at your place of work, amongst your colleagues. Oh, you're the owner of your business, fantastic, but your staff can make you to succeed and they can make your business to go bankrupt if you do not manage them very well. If you do not show the type of leadership that is required to grow and to expand that industry, the kind of a leadership that is inclusive, where everyone becomes a stakeholder, such organization will experience greater growth and expansion. So what kind of leader are you at home, at church, at work, and in the community? This is what I have come to share with you today. Because I know our world is going through crisis. It is not the Russia and Ukraine people that went to war. It is the leadership that caused the war. Just like every other war as it has been in the past too. The First World War, the Second World War, the Syrian war, the Libyan war, the Biafra war in Nigeria, the Sudan, the North and the Southern Sudanese war. You can go on and on and on and talk about all this. It all started by leaders, not by the citizen. Leaders. So, what kind of leaders are you? Then what kind of leaders are you putting in place? What kind of leaders? I've had people complain and complain about the leadership of a particular country, especially where democracy is being practiced. You have every 4 years to replace. But if you say elect the same people into the leadership of that nation or organization, then you get what you ask for. You get what you ask for. So in leadership decision making, you need someone with vigor, someone with purpose, and someone with vision. Someone who can embrace the kind of Jesus style or the disciple style of leadership, impacting and affecting people's life, taking them from where they are to where they need to be, looking at their shortcomings but enhance them and giving them empowerment, taking them to their level, identify their skills, and giving them the playing field to be able to fulfill all their skills. That is the leadership that the society today were lacking. The church is lacking. The political class, the business class is lacking. All is tilting towards I before others. I before others. Whereas leadership is about concerns for others. Character, commitment, and concerns for others. If you are concerned about others, you will be a great leader. If you have character, even in your challenges, whatever you're going through, your character comes first and it becomes intact because your character is your integrity. Your integrity defines who you are. Defines who you are. Never and never negotiate your character. It is priceless. And be committed to it. So in decision making, as I've said, no one is expecting you to make the right decision at all times. But they expect you to be honest, truthful, and faithful. Finally, I say this to leaders. You are who you are by the grace of God. Always remember, leaders go, leaders come. But people will never forget your time, your role, your impact. Whether those time and role and impact is positive or negative, history will remember. So if you are called upon today, and by virtue of whatever it is, either by birth or circumstances, you find yourself in leadership position, remember history will record and will have something to say about you. Today, the bad leader, the foolish man, whose leadership saw to the killing of over 6 million people, we're still talking about it till today. Generation after, we'll still hear about it is evil. If you are in position of leadership, character, commitment, and concerns for others is what you should allow to guide you. Let me conclude by taking you back to Acts of Apostles chapter 20 verse 20. He said, I have never taken away, hide anything, and I've given you everything that you need to have to be great in life. To be great in life. So if God has given us everything that we need, I never hide, never take it away. He's giving us everything that we need to be great in life. Then use it to the glory of the one who gave you the talent, who gave you this skill. And that's why the Bible also encourages us that we should pray for leaders at all times, because they are vulnerable. They are vulnerable. So we should pray for them at all times. One of the most easiest jobs to do is for people to criticize. Very, very lazy. Until you get to leadership position, before you know that for leaders to make decisions, you need to consider so many things. So many things. But in your decision making, I say again, let your character speak. Be truthful. Dishonesty can cost you your legacy, your life, your job, your office, and everything that you have labored for. No one expects you to be right or not to make mistakes, but be honest, be open, and be truthful. Until such a time I come your way again, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May you enjoy your afternoon. Can I encourage you to share this teaching this afternoon? When our world today is crying for good leaders, whether from the northern hemisphere to southern hemisphere, whether from Africa to Europe to America to Australasia, the world today needs leaders. Leaders that are with good character, with great commitment, and leaders that have with concerns for others. That is what the world is looking. That's what the world is yearning for. So that all this nonsense may stop, and the children of God may start to enjoy the good life that God has made available for us. So until such a time I come your way, God bless you. I will continue on the research series next week.